Dual Blades. We are back in update 1 for Sunbreak, which we could easily call the Element Patch, thanks to a certain silver monster newly added to the game. This heavily affected Dual Blades as some of the kings of element damage in Sunbreak. So our builds have been reworked to make the most of that, of course, and as you can see, the numbers are incredible. The burst we can output in this update is fantastic. It is just even better now. The main skill that matters the most here is, of course, Element Exploit, which, as you can see, increases the power of your element damage by 10% even at just level 1, which is ridiculous. Its hit zone requirements are actually lower than Element Bane, which has the awkward 25 or higher requirement. Meanwhile, Element Exploit, that only requires a hit zone of 20, meaning it's triggering in most hunts compared to Element Bane. But when Element Bane is working, and you combine Element Exploit and Element Bane together, your element damage is stupid good. Not to mention the incredible decoration slots available with this new equipment, which does give us ways to work around the new pieces while recovering the lost skills. With that explained though, I want to say thank you to you guys for the kind response to the original Dual Blades build. This is my first time doing proper builds for weapons in Monster Hunter, so while I know it's not always going to be perfect, I did make a couple of little mistakes in the first video. I'm glad that the original video was still received well, and I really appreciate the little corrections that were necessary in the comments of last time. Hopefully this time around I can cover every little detail that's important to mention, but if I do miss anything, do once again let me know in the comments. A special shout out and thank you again to Josh for the help with this build, the testing and the math. Credit to him for helping me make this video. But now, with all of that said, let's begin with a new Element Dual Blades builds. The concept here is to create an armor set that you can equip that will work with all 5 elements and the 5 weapons you're using with that. Then you'll simply swap the weapon and the decorations in each loadout depending on what you're actually hunting. While we do have a main armor set for you today, I'm also going to mention a dereliction version for those of you who want to use that, because yes, dereliction is still very good. This is the main armor set though. Lunagron's helm, Silver Rathalos' chest, Gold Rathian's gloves, the final boss's waist, and Ingot Greaves as your boots. The Luna helm is brilliant for this. It has 2 slots to work in very important skills via your decorations, but then it also comes with some great skills here. We have 2 levels of Critical Eye and 1 level of Wirebug Whisperer. The chest piece is insane, with a 4 slot, a 3 slot, and a 1 slot for its decorations. That alone is really good as a chest piece, but then of course the really important skills. We have 1 level of Element Exploit, which is going to give us 10% extra element damage when attacking the weak points, as long as the hit zone is 20 or higher. And then Critical Element, to literally increase the elemental damage we have while it's active. It also has a bit of a random 3 fire attack, which is obviously useful when we're using our fire weapon, but not too relevant otherwise. The Golden Rathian gloves have a 4 slot, a 2 slot, and a 1 slot, also incredible, with some really nice skills. Critical Boost 1, Peak Performance, which is kind of random, not going to see that much use, but nice to have, and then Chain Crit, which is obviously very important. The final boss waist remains incredible. We have a 4 slot as its decorations, and then it has 1 level of Weakness Exploit and the other 2 levels of Chain Crit, which is vital. Last but not least, we have the boots, the Ingot Greaves. While their slots aren't great with just 2 1 slots, the skills are Attack Boost level 2, Critical Eye level 2. That is really good. In the end, these 5 pieces will result in Weakness Exploit level 1, Critical Eye level 2, Crit Boost level 1, Element Exploit 1, Fire 3, Chain Crit 3, Crit Element 1, and Attack Boost 2. So from here we have a priority to work on using talismans, decorations, and even curious crafting. So this is the final list for my ice build. We've got the 7 Critical Eye, the 5 Attack Boost, the 5 attack of the current element, which is ice in this case. We got the 3 Critical Boost, the 3 Weakness Exploit, the 3 Critical Element, and that's everything you actually need from your decorations, talismans, and of course your curious crafting. The other page is kind of extra skills, like Element Exploit we're getting from our armor anyway, same for Wirebug Whisperer, same for Peak Performance, and I've just got some decorations for speed sharpening. We're using our weapons 2 slot to get Tenderizer, we're using our helm for Tenderizer and Critical, our chest piece uses that 4 slot to get Crit Element for 2 levels of that, and then we use the 3 slot for an Expert Jewel, and then the Grinder Jewel. I find that speed sharpening is my favorite 1 slot decorations to fill up as a comfy but not required skill. In our gloves we have the expert jewel, we have the critical jewel and that other grinder jewel. In the waist, another expert jewel. And in the boots, we have 2 of our current element attack, this being frost. But now it's time for us to talk about the talisman. As you can see, I am running this attack boost 3 and then 3 1 slots for the decorations. This is a pretty damn good talisman that I'm very happy with, and I've been using it in most sets since I got it. However, you might not have such a good one. You want to pick a talisman that fills out the relevant skills. More than likely, you'll be using your talisman to reach attack 4, but you can actually rework your decorations if you have a great talisman that has, say, crit boost or crit eye, or another important skill that you would normally be decorating for. Ultimately, you want a talisman that uses some of the skills you would decorate for, and then use your now free decoration slots to recover what you didn't get from your talisman, likely attack boost. What matters most is that you achieve attack 4 in your build. More than that, like I have at 5, is just nice. For example, this talisman, as good as it is, doesn't have any 2 slots, only 1 slots. So maybe you use an attack boost 1 that has really good slots. Obviously, I'm using that talisman to fill out my frost jewels, but I could easily drop the grinder jewels and use those for the element attack if needed. But now it's time to talk about curious armor crafting. As I've explained, you'll want to use your curious crafting to achieve attack 4. If you do not have attack 4 with all of your decorations and talisman, then that's what you need to focus with crafting. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to get attack boost via this crafting system. You could get something else like critical eye or crit boost, and then you end up using those now free slots you have to put in an attack boost decoration instead. Now, we do have videos on the curious crafting system and how best to use it, but essentially you're going to roll on the piece and see what you get. In this case, I got a nice comfy skill, evade extender +1. Since I already have everything I need from my build and the slots and the talismans, I can look for something more comfy. I could look for agitator for pure DPS min-max, or I could do something more reasonable and easier to acquire at that, a comfy pick. Like, yes, evade extender, or something to help with sharpness, or a stamina helper, maybe even something that helps with survival. There's lots of options, and you just want to use your crafting to finish the build or make it more comfy. Perfect. I found myself exactly what I was looking for. Agitator +1. It's not going to cost me any skills. It's not going to damage my decoration slots. I'm just going to lose a small bit of defense, which is well worth it, I think. So there we go. I've got my chess piece done. Now it's time for us to talk about the dreaded dereliction. So many people just absolutely despise this skill. It's a skill that drains your health over time, but steadily raises your power to a certain limit. In many cases, it's optimal, but it means you're constantly losing health, and a lot of people just don't want to play like that, which is completely reasonable. To fit dereliction into this build, all you need to do is craft the final boss boots, which, as you can see, have a 3-2-2 decoration slot lineup, which is incredible, and then you get that 1 level dereliction as well as a bit of resentment. By swapping away from the ingot boots, you will lose 2 attack and 2 crit eye, so you want to use those 3-2-2 slots to recover that as much as possible. As always, maintain attack boost level 4 at a minimum and then get as much crit eye as possible. But now it's time for us to talk weapons, which can be a little bit complicated with element builds. There's going to be a lot of examples where I'm like, hey, you should use this or this in this example. But to keep it simple, I will recommend you 5 specific dual blades for the 5 elements. And then with some of them, I will offer alternatives depending on the situation. It is completely fine for you to just make 1 fire dual blade setup and then run that no matter what. But for maximum efficiency, I'll just acknowledge it. For our water dual blades build, we will be using the mud shredders. These are the Almudron water dual blades, which we used in the previous patch and my original build. They're still king and still great. However, you should absolutely consider the guild tree dual blades as an alternative. If the monster has awkward hit zones or hit zones lower than 25, then the guild tree is going to be a great option. I'll use those mud shredders as my example for your weapon augmentation, which is thankfully very simple, as you can see. I have element 3 and attack 1. Element boost 3 gives me +9 to my current element, in this case water, and level 1 attack boost gives me attack +5. That is both really effective and efficient, so that's what you want to run on all of your dual blades. 3 element boost and 1 attack boost. For your fire dual blades then, we are using the Magmadron dual blades. They still remain incredible, especially with their 3 slot for your rampage slot to use Ellenbane, but a lot of people were using the Flaming Wyvern lovers actually. They also have a 3 slot for your rampage slot, a little bit of purple sharpness and 10 extra raw it goes a long way. If it has an awkward hit zone at 25 or no hit zone at 25, this is when you should use this. Once again though, it's completely fine to use the Magmadron Dual Blades and stick to that. You might be wondering why not the Silver Rathalos tree? It's got 20% affinity, right? Well, as you can see, it has a 2 slot for its Rampage slot, which is a problem. It has white sharpness, even if it does have the 10 extra raw compared to the Magmadron. It has lower fire element, and as good as its 4 1 slots actually are, it's just not that relevant. It doesn't really impact the build. 20% affinity is nice, but our build has 90%, so I don't really need 110%. We could lose 2 critical eye and get some, say, attack boost, but we'd still overcap 5% affinity doing that. So while we're still looking at this weapon, it just doesn't seem worth it. Now, obviously, I've been carrying around the Kushala Dual Blades in this video. These are your ice weapon of choice. As much as I love the Lunagoron Dual Blades and how they look, I cannot deny that missing out on Elembane when it's relevant is a really bad idea. The Kushala weapons actually have a 3-slot Rampage slot for that, so yeah. For the dragon, it remains Valstrax, thankfully, which is just awesome. An absolute wall of white sharpness and great dragon element, and a really good raw at 330. It's a very good weapon. It's just a shame it doesn't have the 3-slot for the Rampage slot, but you could augment for that. And that's worth it where you're going against a high dragon hit zone enemy, but it would mean augment swapping, and there's some faff to that, so it's up to you. Lastly, for Thunder, we are still using the Nawa weapons. With a hilarious name of Double Discharge and 69 Thunder Element, I'm glad it's still top of the pack. The problem is it has no decoration slots, so we have to make a little change when we're doing our build. As you can see with my dragon setup, I have 7 critical eye, but with my thunder setup, I give up 1 critical eye to then get that weakness exploit that I'm now missing because I can't put it on my weapon. More important than that as well is the critical element. Normally with this build, we have 3 critical element, but with the Thunder Dual Blade specifically using Nawa, I'm down to 1 critical element. That is entirely thanks to the new decoration that allows us to get 2 levels of protective polish. The Sharp Jewel +4. I am giving up the decoration that gave me 2 critical element to get this protective polish. 60 seconds where I maintain that tiny sliver of purple sharpness on the Nawa Dual Blades, it's well worth it. However, we could recover that critical element by curious crafting our armor set. So it's something to consider and try to do. Our alternative to the Nawa is of course the Oppressor's Miracle here, the Zinogre Dual Blades. You do actually get the 2 slot that we were missing, so we don't have to do all of those faffy shenanigans with the setup, but I would still recommend that you run that protective polish instead of crit element to maintain the purple sharpness as much as possible. It's always possible you use the new silk bind attack of the Dual Blades, Iron Shine Silk, to maintain it, but that means giving up a wire bug permanently throughout a fight. It's really up to you which playstyle you prefer. Ultimately, this is used when you're dealing with lower hit zone values, like many cases. But now it's time for that part of the video where we explain the math of the weapon combined with the armor set so we can assign a DPS value to it. We will use the Water Dual Blades, the Almadron ones, once again just like last time. Therefore, our starting numbers are a raw attack of 300 and element of 62. Let's begin with the raw numbers. We start with 300, but then we get 8 from 5 attack, 5 from the weapon augment, 15 from 3 chain crit when active, bringing us to 328. We're also getting 6% from having 5 attack, so that's times 1.06. That brings us to 347.68. The weapon has white sharpness, so that's a 32% increase while we're attacking with white sharpness. So let's times that by 1.32, and that brings us to 458.9376. Lastly, we have our affinity. We have 90% from our crit eye and of course our weakness exploit, and that damage is enhanced by our 3 crit boost. That's doing plus 40% damage 90% of the time. That's a 36% increase. So let's times that by 1.36. That brings us then to 624.155136, aka, let's round that down, 624. We have 624 raw attack for that weapon with this armor set equipped. But we also have the element damage, which is obviously a bit important. The element begins at 62, but then we're getting plus 4 from water attack 5, we're getting plus 9 from the element boost augment, and plus 12 from the chain crit. That brings us up to 87. Water attack 5 also gives us 20%, so that's timesing it by 1.2. Our element goes up to 104.4. We're getting white sharpness on our attacks, so for element that's 15% extra damage, so 104.4 times 1.15, bringing us up to a nice 120.06. Newly, we're benefiting from element exploit now. That's 10% extra damage, so we times it by 1.1, bringing us up to 132.066. Finally, we have the affinity to consider again, and in many cases we're going to have 3 crit element in this build, so that's plus 15% element damage 90% of the time, a 13.5 increase. So that's 132.066 times 1.135, bringing us up to element of 149.89491, aka let's round up to 150. Pretty damn insane, is it not? 150 element using this set. Therefore, the final numbers of this set using the Almudron Dual Blades is a raw attack of 624, an element of 150. And that's not even considering when we're in demon mode, which enhances our element damage even further. This is just about the weapon and the set itself. Our raw damage for the build prior to update 1 was 613, and the element was 127. So with this new update, we're up 11 raw in this build and up 23 element. That's really good. So our conclusion is yes, element damage remains insane in Sunbreak, and somehow it's even better in Update 1, and that of course means Dual Blades is eating damn good. These weapons are made from many hits on a target quickly, right? Which naturally works perfect with element builds, as well as status. We actually are planning a follow-up video to cover that crazy aspect of Update 1 soon, so do keep a lookout for it. Status Dual Blades are also pretty awesome, and pretty silly in some cases. I hope this video has helped you and explained why things are, well, the way they are. If it did, please do drop a like on this video. This took a lot of work. If you have any further details on this topic to help others, then do drop it in the comments. You might help someone. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.